Governor Phil Murphy, thanks for joining us. Let's jump right in and talk about those MVC center locations that reopened for in-person transactions, and it was chaos. There were people waiting in line for hours and hours and hours. What can be done and what is being done to fix that?
Yeah, nobody is happy to see that. No one wants to be waiting in lines like that. So we have nothing but unending sympathy. A couple of things. First of all, an obvious point, but there's an enormous amount of pent-up demand, right? So folks they've been closed, and folks want to get on with getting a license, et cetera. There's one big ask I would have for folks. There's a lot of folks in line right now who actually can deal with what their issue is online. So I would say to folks, step back, go on NJMVC, as in New Jersey Motor Vehicles Commission.gov, and look up and determine whether or not, in fact, you need to be physically there. There's a lot of stuff, as anecdotally as folks have gone through the lines, a lot of folks are in line that don't have to be in line. And that would be a huge game changer for everybody.
Today, you added 3 states to the travel advisory list, including Delaware. So travelers to New Jersey from 19 states now need to quarantine for 2 weeks. Is this going to be enough to prevent the spread of some of those outbreaks in other states from reaching New Jersey?
Nick, I hope so. We had counted on taking on some increased risk when we began to reopen the state. I frankly don't think anyone has counted on the explosions that we've seen in places like Florida, Texas, and Arizona. As you mentioned, 19 states are now on the list of hotspots. I hope it's enough. We're asking a big dose of personal responsibility, which New Jerseyans have been great at since day one of this crisis. We've got contact tracers. We've got big testing capacity. All those are assets that we didn't have before. I hope so. We're watching it very carefully.
Is there any enforcement of that? Will people with Delaware plates be pulled over on the turnpike? And also, how will that be enforced at the airports?
You can't do that. I mean, in America, you can't restrict travel constitutionally from one state to another, but there's a big dose, and it'll be increasing, of a public relations campaign, if you will. Signs that are already out there on the highways. We're ramping up the information you get if you land at Newark Liberty. We'll be doing more and more of that until this crisis has passed in the country.
You announced yesterday that the rate of transmission in New Jersey of the virus has gone above 1 for the first time in 10 years, meaning on average, every new case of COVID leads to at least one more new infection. What does that mean for the reopening of the state of New Jersey?
Yeah, it's first time in 10 weeks, and it's above 1 again today. It means we're in a holding pattern, honestly. Now, we've opened up a fair amount of the state. Almost everything, in fact, I think everything you could do outdoors with some capacity limits is opened. But bars and restaurants, indoor, close, sedentary, close proximity, lack of ventilation, taking your mask off, by definition, you have to eat or drink. That's a bad circumstance, and it brings me no joy, but we got to hold off on indoor dining and bars for the foreseeable future.
Do you anticipate having to just take a step back and close any businesses that have already reopened?
At the moment, no, but we're watching that rate of transmission very, very carefully. But at the moment, no, because things like indoor retail, you're going in, they're subject to capacity constraints. Wear a mask, please. We're going to hit that again hard tomorrow. Wear a face covering or you can't get inside, and you're moving around and you're leaving. That is not the biggest area of risk.
Let's talk about face coverings. Over the weekend, you did say that there should be a federal mask mandate. Here in New Jersey, you do have to wear a face covering inside a business or on mass transit, but there's no mandate to wear a mask outdoors in public spaces. Why is that, and do you anticipate that changing?
One, the virus outside is a lot less lethal, period, and the science backs all that up. Secondly, having said that, we're looking very hard at tightening what we want people to be doing outside. And thirdly, another point we've been making, we need a national strategy. Right now, we're only as strong as our weakest link. We can't prevent people from traveling from one state to another. We need a national strategy, period, but especially on face coverings.
Governor Phil Murphy, New Jersey, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Nick.